All right, and we are live. I'm live again. I was live for 12 hours straight yesterday, and I'm live again. I don't know. Kim, I'm not sure anyone else could have got me to go live outside of you. I'm pretty sure I would have said no, but I've been pumped to jump on with you. We were just talking about that, laughing through that. Really, really fun chat. I thought a great chat. I say fun because I love seeing a community, but this was I think, an important chat, a very deep chat in a lot of ways. I really loved the reflection that was going on and the conversations that were happening. How are you feeling right now? This was the first time moderating Mastery Chat. How are you feeling? How did it go for you?
I'm feeling grateful. I feel, these are crucial conversations that we're having. And one thing I love about you all, originally when you all asked me to do Mastery Chat a few months ago, it was going to be surrounding a book that I have coming up. And we all realize that right now I've actually delayed the release of my book because of the crucial and critical point that we are in history, and just the importance of having conversations like this. And then the question, arose, is Kim an expert? You didn't ask this, but why does she have a voice? But I think the important thing that people understand is that we all should be using our voices. Yes. And so I loved that I asked, I feel, very straightforward questions that require people to be very vulnerable and truthful. And I felt like people were. And so I felt there was powerful. And honestly, it was going so fast, some of the responses, I look forward to going back and digging deeper and reading what everybody was saying.
You get some of those conversations that happen on the side, and you can really dig in. I love that you say that. Yesterday when we had Adam Welcome on, because Jeff said, were you live yesterday? Adam Welcome was on in the afternoon, and at the very end, and we had a good conversation with him for 28 minutes. It was great. The last 2 minutes, he just lit on fire, and he was just pleading with us all to use our voice. And something he said that really hit me was, nobody has the perfect words. None of us have the perfect words. We're going to say things that aren't maybe the way they should have been said or the best way they can be said, but you all have a voice. We all have a voice. We all have a platform, whether big, small, whatever, that we can use it to stand up for what's right and speak our truth, speak our heart. And I love that. And, when we reached out to you about this particular chat, it was after we had a lot of deliberation amongst the team of, should we still have the chats? Is this really what we should be doing? There's a lot of conversations that are far more important. And then we kind of stopped and we said, well, wait a minute, this is a platform that we've created, and there was a lot of voices in there, and it's a place where people go to have conversations. We need to just have these conversations now. And so we reached out. We're so fortunate to have amazing people that are moderating. We reached out to people and we said, like yourself, and said, hey, because of everything going on, would you mind adjusting things a little bit? And you were so quick to say yes. And you I know you probably toiled with it a little bit mentally.
I would have suggested the same thing. So we were on the same page there.
And if I hope it's okay that I'll share, we actually adjusted the questions, I think twice.
Right.
Because you were listening to people. We had some people commenting and sharing concerns and sharing thoughts on the promotion of it. And I love the fact that before we even saw it, you had already seen it and said, hey, you know what? I'm going to tailor this question or this question a little bit differently because I want to have these conversations. And I love that. We've had that. We have a bunch of people lined up over the next several weeks that we're talking through of, okay, how do we do this? Trey did an amazing job last week of leading us in a talk as well. And I think so. Our thing was, okay, we have this platform. How can we use it to help our community learn and grow? But also we're all trying to learn and grow too. And this is Master Chat's always such a great growth experience for us as a team to now be able to have these conversations. I think is really, really important. So I want to say hi to Jeff. Oh, look, Ray's here. I didn't get enough of Ray yesterday.
Hey.
Katie, what's up, Katie? Katie won a bunch of stuff yesterday, I believe so. Ray says, great facilitated discussion tonight. Need to head back and read more. Yeah, that's what we were just talking about. Absolutely. I do that all the time. I love that. The other thing I love about Twitter chats in general, but obviously Master Chat, is that we have a lot of people that will participate tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday because they couldn't be here, but they want to get in. They'll start commenting. And I love that because you can go back and have a whole new conversation 2 days later, which is really great. Livia, great to see you. I love your comment there. We saw Livia yesterday too. I'm just clicking through all this stuff now. We got people.
The beauty is that people have time. Sometimes you read a comment somebody wrote, and you need to go back and you need to reflect upon it, and then you're ready to speak your truth.
Yeah, kind of redigest it.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. I love that there was a gentleman that put a comment that I typed something, and all honesty, I deleted it. So now I'm going to sit and listen. And I love that. I love that but he was honest enough to say, I need to listen right now. And that was great. So I think these are the kind of conversations that we've got to have. And even if we misstep or misspeak, we have to create spaces where they can occur. So thank y'all for doing that.
I agree. Well, thank you for leading us with it tonight. So let me ask this. So we just talked about how we kind of had to say, okay, let's reset. Let's make sure these are the right questions for the right conversation. What was kind of going through your mind? And you've kind of already touched on this, so I might be kind of repeating ourselves here. But when you were writing out and redesigning the questions and thinking through them, what were you really hoping? Like, what was the goal? What were you hoping everyone was going to take away? Or maybe what you were hoping yourself you were going to take away from the chat today? And did we do that? I guess would be the second question of that.
So to back up a little bit, I mean, it's not the first time I've been involved in these conversations. I have at the Ron Clark Academy, we do professional development, and when people come, it's always a part of the conversation. It is a part of our school culture and the conversations we have them in our school. So it's been work that we've been doing. So I felt comfortable in that space. But, even if we talk about an inclusive classroom, well, inclusive classroom involves every type of student, right? We could have written questions about the LGBTQIA community, about students with different special needs, any marginalized group of students. So there's so many aspects of that. So at first, I was really a broader perspective. And then I thought, you know what, right now, this week, this time, we're going to talk specifically about the issues that the Black community is facing and call it what it is and the racism that prevails. But also, I just wanted the questions didn't change so much. They just became meatier and more direct. I think that when we are discussing issues as crucial as this, really figuring out, what word do I really want to use here? What is it I'm really trying to say? Just like all writers do, how you go back and you revise and you revise and you revise.
Mm-hmm.
What is it I really want to? And the problem for me is, honestly, Jeff, I have like 20 questions. I mean, and I felt like that all of us have different perspectives and different stories that we bring in different lenses. And I have 3 Black sons that I adopted from Africa. I mean, 3 from Soweto, South Africa. So I'm a mother of 3 Black teenage boys, and so I've got that perspective. I've got that lens. But I thought that perhaps, not to present myself as an expert, but as a white woman, what are some of the obstacles and barriers to this conversation that white people need to overcome? And so that's when I added in the question about, what is it about fear that's keeping the white community from speaking up, speaking out? How can we as white people encourage one another to be more bold and to call it what it is? Because many, not all white people, certainly not to say all white people are the same, but there are many loving, kind, sweet white people that don't like conflict. And that whole idea of, oh, I'm not a racist, that's great, but we've got to be anti-racist. Yes. If you've been somebody who's meek, this is not a time to be meek. This is a time to speak up. This is a time to speak out. This is time to say no, and not just publicly, but behind closed doors as well. So yes. I was trying to find quick, it's hard in the Twitter chat when you just got the question, how many characters we're limited to. That's really hard. Twitter is hard for me. Because as a writer, I like to, I love the power of words. With
lots of words, yes.
And I hate to be limited. And plus, I hate when I can't punctuate things I want the way I want.
Me too. I hate it when I try and put an Oxford comma in, I have to cut it because of Twitter.
See, I'm a big Oxford comma, and I can't italicize titles of books. Things like this make me crazy too, but that's a whole other story. So just really wanting to hone in on things that are important. As somebody touched on it, when they brought up the idea of white saviorism, which is another topic that makes people very fragile, but it's a valid conversation that needs to be held in white communities, what that means and what that looks like. So that was another question I wanted to ask, but I didn't have time.
Well, we have to have more conversations around it. Obviously, we have to continue to have it. I think you hit it. I saw it a lot today, and it's one of the things that I have seen that is different about right now than so many other times is that there are more and more in the white community saying, okay, it's no longer okay for me to just be not racist.
Right.
Now I've got to figure out how do I become anti-racist. And I think the key to that is like, hey, you don't have to go crazy right now and be the best there ever was, but you got to try and be better every day. And how can I be a little bit better, a little more anti-racist today, right? We always say on Teach Better Team, be better today than you were yesterday, better tomorrow than you were today. Like, you don't have to be perfect yet, right? You don't have to have the perfect words. You don't have to stand up to every single one, but you better start standing up. You better start speaking out and saying things. And I think that's a big difference. We had a great conversation yesterday, I think morning. It might have been afternoon. I don't remember at this point. I just remember the conversation with Dr. Shemaine Bertrand and Kevin Butler. And we got into this conversation, and it was a great one. I'm actually getting ready to cut it up and put it up as its own video. But, we talked, and Shemaine talked about going to the protest in DC, and she said one of the things that's given her hope right now is that there were so many white people there, and so many, just the diversity all over. But it wasn't just the Black community fighting anymore. The white community is finally realizing that, hey, this hasn't impacted me, but that doesn't mean I can't do something. That doesn't mean I shouldn't be doing something. And I love seeing the comments of, what side of history are you going to be on? Mm-hmm. And someone, I can't remember, I wish I would have screenshot it, said, if you hesitate here, you shouldn't be educating young minds. Mm-hmm. I was like, that's not a comfortable thing to say, but it's the truth. Like, you should know what side you're going to be on right now. So, just important conversations. I
already posted this in a video a couple weeks ago, but it bears saying again, all of us can remember sitting in classrooms when you did learn about the limited amount of the truths that you learned about enslaved Africans, or you learned about the Holocaust, and you were appalled. You were like, well, how did that happen? How did everybody just not stand up and say, stop it? How did people allow that to take place? And everybody's just appalled that anything like that could ever happen. How did people just stand by? Mm-hmm. And there are just so many truths in our history, even today, that we've got to educate ourselves on, because the history books have been written from a white male perspective of let's whitewash things and make things all sound lovely. We'll add a couple of pages in there, some things, but most of all, we're just great. And so it's really, really important that we realize that, we recognize that.
So can you pick one? I love that. I'm thinking now, I'm laughing because you said you had like 20 other questions you wanted to ask, but of the ones we asked tonight, was there one that particularly stood out when you were getting ready and you knew it was coming, that you were really thinking, oh, I'm really excited to see how people answer this. I'm really curious to see how they answer this. Something that was really sticking out that you were waiting for. What was the question you were waiting for? You're nodding your head, so I know you have one in your head. So,
well, I already mentioned it, but it was because interesting. I was trying to figure out, how do I word, white people, I am one of you, how do we get past this fear, this politeness? How do we, get people to speak up? And what I was afraid is that that question itself makes people afraid to even tweet the answer, right? Like there were a couple of questions that I asked, and I thought, these are good questions for anybody to ponder, but will people be brave enough to answer them on Twitter? Yeah. And so I felt really grateful that people were, and that's how these conversations start. I mean, it's so powerful. So that was important. And the idea, there's a fine line between being an ally and being a performative ally. So that was the last question that I asked.
I love that you put that in there. Yes.
And so that's that whole idea of, am I truly, like, behind closed doors? Am I always consistently doing work to be anti-racist, or am I just doing it because it's a great picture on Instagram? It makes me look like I'm, really important. And there's nothing wrong with putting a picture on Instagram, by no means, but are you really walking the walk and talking the talk, or are you just doing it because right now it's on trend? This is not like something that should go away after this summer. These are things that have been going on for generations, hundreds of years, and we're at a tipping point. So what are you really willing and down with? Okay, this is an opportunity to truly make transformative change.
And I think that transformative change and that self-work, you're not going to be done after the summer. It's going to take a long time before you even feel like you're in a good spot. And then it's never done. It's always continuous. We're continually growing and continue doing that. So I love that. It's not about, you can post things, you can do all that. That's all great because you're sharing your voice, but you got to make sure that you're putting in the work on the back end too, where no one's looking. Right. An old mentor of mine used to always tell us, and I know it wasn't him that first set up, that integrity is what you do when no one's looking.
Exactly.
Like, what you say is whatever, but like what you do when no one's looking is actually what your character really is. So do you stand up to someone when no one else is watching you and no one else would know whether you did or not? Do you go out and actually read the books that you claim you're reading and digging into because you like that 50 book list on Twitter or whatever? Are you actually going out and investing the money and the time and energy into it and stuff? I think that's the important point. So
one thing, can I point out real quick, not to interrupt you, but one of the
you can interrupt me anytime you want. Seriously, you should know this.
More fascinating than me. So, all right, I don't know if I can entertain people for 12 hours. So you've obviously got to give.
I don't know that I did either. That's why I had to bring so many people in.
One of the things that we really work hard to do at our school. We have been very intentional. About hiring an extremely diverse staff. That was one of the comments I put in the chat. Only about 77% of teachers, depending on which statistics you look at, are white females like me. Very small percentage of male teachers and people of color. Like only 2% are Black male teachers.
Males. It's less than 2% still. Yeah.
Even though the research shows that the significant gains in students who are Black, who have a Black male teacher, how that's transformative, even just one can make a big difference. But so we work really hard. We have a lot of these conversations with our students over the time that they're at our school, but I'm really proud that a lot of our alumni have moved on now in this space right now. They've been very, very vocal. They've been doing great things. And one of my students has been having these online, Instagram lives every week and every day. And he's had different experts come in, but some of them have also been his classmates. And one of my former students, he wrote this poem and it was just extraordinarily powerful, the spoken word poem. So he, performed the poem. But one of the things he said was, he said, I wrote a poem because that's how I use my voice. He said, that's my gift is poetry. And he said, for some people, your gift is sitting down right beside somebody and looking them in the eyes and having a one-on-one conversation. For some of you, your gift is getting out on social media and broadcasting it loudly. Some of you are some of you are good at speech, giving. Some of you really need to sit down and be more thoughtful and write it out and rewrite it and revise it and share it through a blog. So, and then some of you are just going to be people who are going to go and march, or you're going to go and you're going to write letters to, you're going to make sure that you encourage people to vote, or, so the point is there are so many different ways to be an ally. And we just have to be doing the work, and we all have different gifts and talents. And some people may not choose Twitter as their platform to speak out, but they're doing work every single day for their students and speaking up and reviewing the textbooks, or we're working on the curriculum. There's so many different things that we need to be doing as allies. And so, what I would hope is that everybody figures out, okay, what is my gift and how can I use that? Yeah,
I agree. So let me ask you, was there an answer? And we've talked about a few, so I'm going to make this harder because we've already talked on a few. But were there any answers that came out, or maybe conversations that happened that either surprised you, or it could be a surprised you, or even just warmed your heart, if that's which way we want to go. But any tweets, and you don't have to recite them word for word. That's I'm not gonna make it do that. But like anything that really stood out, that really caught your eye coming through, like whether it was a topic that kind of seemed to be coming around or anything like that. I mean, I know generally I think we talked beforehand just the bravery of our audience in this group to talk about it. But anything in particular that jumped out at you?
Yeah, well, early in the chat, I had already had it as, for those of y'all that don't know, when you do a Twitter chat, a lot of the tweets, you already have them scheduled so you can possibly keep up with the discussion. So, you've already—
Yes, you can attempt to.
It's the only way humanly possible to do it. So even though you're there in real time commenting, you have— so I had prepared for later, talking about our textbooks. I had a tweet about, that we have, our textbooks are primarily from one viewpoint perspective. And as I've already mentioned tonight on here, and I loved that very, very quickly when I was asking about resources and things schools need, people understand that. So many people were commenting on that before I had even gotten to that part of the chat. It came up, it rose to the top very, very quickly, as we're not even using materials with our students that are an accurate depiction of history. I think that a lot of people for the very first time, and I knew some of the stories, but like I went down a rabbit hole like at 2 a.m, because, is nobody sleeping normally right now. I went down a rabbit hole at 2 a.m. about, I had heard about what had happened in Tulsa. I had heard about what happened in Rosewood, Florida, but there were communities all over this country that have been decimated, that were successful Black communities. Those should be taught in every history book. I think it was Olivia, somebody just put a comment, when we talk about, BIPOC, it's Black people, indigenous people of color, the stories, just glossed over about the horrific things that were done to Native Americans in our country. These aren't histories that we're proud of, but that doesn't mean that we should erase them. We've got to learn them. We've got to speak the names of these great individuals who did great work. And so I loved that so many people immediately were putting that in the chat, because I'm like, okay, there's an awareness that this is a real problem that we have.
Yes. Yeah. I like Jeff, can we just get you to the Ron Clark Academy? Can we figure out, like, Kaplan's mentioned like 4 times now. Jeff is an amazing middle school teacher. He's just in, I think he's middle school. I'm sorry if I'm wrong, Jeff. He's like, I know it took me about 23 minutes to get from my brother's apartment in Midtown, right by the big park there, to his house. He's not that far, or to his school. So he's not far away from you guys.
Yeah.
Jeff, you just need to go down. So, like, I don't know what that takes, but
all right. Well,
Kim will high five you.
Message me on Twitter. Yeah, here we go.
There, yeah. Let's get you there. You got to go check it out.
Pandemic, nobody's coming, but we're
not right now, Jeff. Don't do it now. But, like, when things clear up in Atlanta, you can go
into existence. Though we're gonna be good in the fall. Go ahead.
He's in Sandy Springs. You know where it is.
Oh, you're in our not that far.
There you go.
One of the other things that I also didn't have the time to go down is, so this is such an important thing right now. These topics, these conversations, a common theme was time. You cannot go in and have a 1-hour PD on this topic and then everything's fixed at your school. These are issues and layers and layers. And we've been doing this work at our school for many, many years, and we're still learning, and we're still figuring it out, and we're still, unpacking it, and we're still building trust and truth and all those kinds of things. And so the idea of time, and so now we don't even know what school's going to look like in the fall anyway with COVID. Yeah. And so right now we're like, well, yeah, right now we're learning how am I going to teach, half digitally and half in place, and kids have masks on their face and socially distancing. And so there's that whole piece right there that was already a level of anxiety. But I hope that does not overshadow the extraordinary importance at this time in history where we've got to change the systemic racism that is occurring in our schools.
Yeah, I agree. And I love that you mentioned the time. Like, it can't be a one and done. And I think it's really important also on the time, in the sense of, from a personal side, if you're like me, if you're a white person who's feeling guilt, like, it's okay to feel that guilt, but you also got to give yourself the grace that as long as you are taking the steps to learn, you're not going to be perfect yet. You've been oblivious to it for however long, or ignorant to it, whatever you want to say. It's going to take you a while to learn, but that's that putting in that work. It's not going to happen over a week. It's not going to happen next month. It's going to take some time. So I'm with you. I really hope that all the other things that we're currently dealing with don't push this self-growth off to the side. It doesn't shove it down. It's got to be a part of everything that you do from here on out, or else we just go back to where we were. Because we all just settle back down. It's super easy to just settle back down to what's in the. Right. We talked about this with Shemaine and Kevin. I said the reality is, if I wanted to, I could just turn it all off, and it doesn't impact my life at all. That's my privilege that I have. And the problem is, like, so I have to make that active decision every day to put it in front of me. And Ray talked about it the other day of, like, following right people, commenting on right things, using the social media algorithms so that more things come in your stream. You have to get that set up by liking things and commenting on things and following different individuals and that stuff like that. That's how you get that feed so that you get to grow. And I think it's really important to just continue to do that. I love that you say that. Don't let this other level of stress, it's a crazy time, don't let it overshadow this important time, because it's going to simmer down a little bit at some point where it's not going to be trending, like you said earlier. But we've got to keep it still in the spotlight. We've got to keep it going, because it's going to take a long time still.
This pandemic, it's horrific in every way. There's nothing about this pandemic, but in every dark thing, it's human. You want to look for, is there anything that could have come out of this that, what could we learn? And I think, we'd agree, we've learned to value our health. We've learned to value our relationships. We've learned to value what it is to be around other people and those kinds of things. But perhaps, this pandemic, one of the other things is maybe it's very easy to go about your busyness of your life and just to deny things because of white privilege that you don't even know are happening, or just, oh, I'm not a part of that, and to get right back to your routines. But because everybody's routine has been disrupted, and we are looking at screens and more than ever, and we're watching news more than ever, that has perhaps provided the opportunity for this awareness that we would not, some of us have been aware, but some have needed to become aware.
Mm-hmm.
And one more thing I say about when you're talking about guilt, it's just as if anybody who is my white brothers and sisters like me hear this, one thing about yes, we feel pain and sadness and guilt about this, but and it's wonderful to express to the Black people that your brothers and sisters and friends, that in your community that you want to do better and be better, but please don't go into this whole dramatic thing where you want them to make you feel better because they're tired.
Yes.
And that's something that my Black friends have said over and over again. It's really not Black people's jobs to make you feel better right now. Like, don't make this whole thing about you. It's about us, and we need you to be lifting up. So it's okay for us to cry tears of sorrow because of this has just gone on too long, and it's horrific and it's terrible, and for the lives that have been murdered and things like that. But please don't go and make a production where you want people, Black people to tell you, oh, you're different. It's not their job to do that.
No. Instead, take all of that and put that into action. Use it for it. I want to bring Angela. I love what Angela said here. Like, we're not responsible for our past generations, but we are for our future. So, like, guilt's okay, but you can also understand, like, yeah, maybe like that's such a common thing of, well, I didn't do those things. Well, you've allowed things to happen. So what are you doing now to make the future generation better? What are you doing now to make right now better and going forward? It doesn't matter if you didn't do those things, whatever. Now, what are you doing now to make things better? Now that you are aware, now that you've woken up and you're able to see these things. I can't remember. I saw the other day, and we talked about it yesterday. I said, I saw the tweet and it hit me. It was like, now I'm forgetting what it said. I'm not gonna say it as well, but it was, you can no longer say, oh, I didn't know. Like, now, like there's like, I might be able to turn it off and escape back into comfort, but I can never say I don't know anymore. Like, cause if you don't know at this point, like, you're just blind, you're willfully ignorant at this point. So, and I want to touch, I think you absolutely hit. I was talking with a friend of mine about this too. I think it was sort of this perfect storm, for lack of a better term, of the pandemic had us all at home, had us all on our screens, had us all really paying attention to social media, the news, and each other in that way. And then these things happen. I really do think that's why it picked up, because more people are home, so they could go and protest, because now it wasn't as easy to say, oh, I want to protest, but I got to go to work. It was, now I can go out. Or for some people who truly do want to protest, they didn't have the fear of repercussions from work or anything like that, so they're able to go out and have that, and that's one less layer. And we were all paying attention, and I think that's one of these things that could come out of this horrific pandemic that leads to some good change, and I just hope it continues that way. So I don't want to keep you super late. We're about 27 minutes here. I do want to, we've talked, I think everyone on here probably knows, but I appreciate the conversation we have, but I do want to make sure that, like, there may be some people that were in the chats or that are here that don't know who you are. Can you give us like the quick who's Kim and a little bit about the Ron Clark Academy? We talked about that as well, and some people might be like, "What's going on with Ron Clark Academy?" Right, I thought her name was Kim.
Who is this girl? So I am the co-founder of the Ron Clark Academy with Ron Clark. I'm also the executive director there, and I am a classroom teacher. I teach middle school language arts each and every day when we are in session. And I'm a wife and a mom and have 4 kids. And so the Ron Clark Academy, it's a school in Southeast Atlanta, and we teach kids in grades 4th through 8th. But in addition to teaching our students, we are an educator training facility. And we're very unique in that educators, usually when there's not a pandemic, about 17,000 educators come every year to our school for professional development. But what makes it unique is that they also sit in our classrooms and they watch us teach, which really is not an opportunity you have in other places at such a large scale. We have really wonderful teachers, and people come in and they sit and watch us teach. We're not perfect, because there's no such thing as a perfect teacher, but through watching us, it's one of those powerful things to be able to learn and watch someone else demonstrating their craft. And so you go from class to class and watch all the different teachers teaching, in addition to having professional development opportunities. We've shifted. We've been doing a lot of online digital professional development as well, but we're looking forward to and really optimistic that all the people who usually come will be able to start coming again when school starts back up, even though it's probably going to look a little different for all of us. Sure. But but our school is committed to trying to create, have high expectations for all students, but how do you increase student engagement and create a climate and culture where kids are successful? And our students come to us from all over the metro Atlanta area. And many of them had academic challenges before they came to us. Some were great students, but there's the majority of my students are Black students from the metro Atlanta area. And so we really are proud of the work we do. And I hope that some of y'all will check us out. If you go to ronclarkacademy.com, you can see a page of all the professional learning opportunities that we have there.
And those of you who know our community, know the team, Ray will tell you that, I don't know how many times she's been down there, but she's done it at least more than twice. I think way more than that, multiple times down there, that she has taken so much from those getting to visit there. She's done the handshake. She runs it at her school, and then she brings students down, and like she will tell you that she will credit Ron Clark.
Shaking hands much anymore right now, but
yeah, it's gonna be more like the great elbow, maybe bump, maybe that's what it's gonna be. But Ray will tell you that she owes so much to you and your team there, and everything that you do, and her experiences there. And I will tell you that I can't remember what the episode is, but if you check out Teach Better Talk, Kim was on not too long ago. I'm not going to make her do it tonight. You got to go to the podcast and listen, but she actually shares the story of how the Academy came about. And I was completely unaware of how it all happened. And it's a really cool story that I hope you'll go listen. It was a great episode just in general. We had a blast. We laughed probably more than we should have, but great story there. So that was great. Yeah, Jeff, I really think, because I'm just seeing Kaplan's comment, Jeff, I think really because you already use the grid method and how your class runs, you'd be able to go there and grab so much. I mean, regardless of whether you would use grid method, you'd be able to grab a lot from Ron Clark, but I think you'd be able to bring so much more into that, and I think you'll eat it up, my friend. So, because I know you, so you should definitely check it out. Tell me, I actually don't know. So now I'm asking purely on. I'm keeping you later than I said. I'm sorry, Kim.
Where am I going to go? Actually, open up nightclubs in Atlanta at 50. You're gonna get me in one of those right now.
So Club RCA, I don't know what that is. Can you tell us about that real quick? Like, Angela mentioned it. I've seen it all over, but I've never really clicked in to see what it actually is.
So Club RCA is a community of learners that we have, that you can join the club, and it's a subscription-based club, and I'll tell you why that part in a minute. But every single week we have live coming together Zoom chats where all of our different instructors share tips and tricks. Actually, the past couple of weeks we've had really candid conversation. It's been very powerful because a lot of the people who belong to it are white females, and to hear some of the Black males and Black females on my staff talk candidly about some issues, it was really beautiful, like in a very safe space. It was powerful. But they, you get every single week, you get weekly chats. In addition to, sometimes we have extra little free fun things that you can do for prizes and giveaways. And whenever we have paid online events, you get you get complimentary access to those as well. But
Gotcha.
Our school is a nonprofit, and our school, 100% of the proceeds from all educator training we do actually go to fund our school, to go to our student scholarships. And so during this time when we haven't been able to have guests come to the building physically, we've had to look at other ways to make sure that we have in place those student scholarships for this fall. And so Club RCA members, we love them for that too, because it helps to support that. So
that's just a monthly membership fee?
$19.95.
That's not bad at all. Yeah. So that was one of the things that I learned on the podcast that I just never knew, was the fact that you're a nonprofit, and that everything that comes in actually goes to scholarships to help kids come in and get that experience, which is awesome. So check out Club RCA. It sounds pretty awesome. And I've seen people posting stuff all over about it and stuff. So I'm laughing at. So Livia, thank you. She let us know that your episode was episode 168. You can always find it like teachbetter.com/podcast/ whatever the guest name is. So you
don't have it like tattooed right here as your favorite episode or something.
Well, I do, but it's like it's actually across my belly, so I'm just, it's not appropriate right now, unfortunately. No. And Bree, I'm laughing at Bree. So Bree was with us for all 12 hours yesterday. She watched the entire time. And we actually brought her in randomly too, and she jumped on.
She has to have a prize for that.
She actually gave away a prize. So she's an author, and we actually gave away one. Did we give away a copy, or I don't know if we gave away more. At least one copy of her book, Play Yay. And she was on there, but she just said her husband said, "You must really like these people. You're watching them again." Just tell him it's because Kim's on, okay? Like, so it doesn't, Anyway, Kim, I just love talking to you. We met on the podcast, and I'm like, she's now one of my favorite people in the world. Like, just to talk to you. We had a great time.
Jeff shirt. It's in the dirty clothes because I actually really wore it. It's up there in my laundry basket.
I wasn't gonna say anything, but
you know what? I disappointed you. It really is up in my laundry basket. If
I were to sit here today and say that my heart wasn't hurting just a little bit, I'd be lying to you. But it is what it is. So no, did you actually wore it like just randomly on a day?
I wear it. This whole pandemic has definitely changed my sense of style because I'm usually like in dresses. I've just been in t-shirts and cut off shorts every day.
I love it. So what I just heard right there is when we get out of the pandemic, we have to do a hashtag Team Jeff dress is what I need to do, like so that you can have a dress.
Yeah, so I could wear it with a cute shirt. I got you.
So yesterday during the live, and then I promise I'm going to let you go. My wife has a Team Ray shirt. Now,
love it.
Full transparency, I bought it for her because I knew. She shows up in the back of my video yesterday with it on. Like she was waiting for it all day. She was so excited to get home from work and like walk in front of the camera with it. But hey, that's just how it is. I can't wait.
I adore you, so you know that I'm Team Ray too. You know that.
I know you are. I look. If anybody wants, I'll give the truth. Like I told Ray right away, I sent Kim the shirt. Okay, like she's not gonna make that decision, that choice. Some people have, a lot of people refuse to. No, but I appreciate you for moderating the chat in general, but for working with us to make sure that we had the right conversation. I think we did. I feel like it went great. Jeff, get out of here. Go to bed. That's a inside joke from yesterday. That's a whole nother thing. But I really appreciate you coming on. I love that you came on live with us and had some fun with us, but also had a good conversation here. I love having that. I love that we can go from a good conversation and deep conversation to laughing some and back. And I think that's important. But I appreciate you, all the work that you do, all the work that your team does, and everything you got going on. So thank you very much. Everyone who watched, thank you. Everyone who was in the chat, it was awesome. I look forward to go back like you and read more and more of the answers. So thank you, Kim. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate you too. And thanks, Ray.
All right. Well, see, she has to say thanks to Ray. See how that goes? She didn't even come live with you, Kim. All right. Like, I'm just saying, like, you need to.
She said that we were live next, right after I finished with
you know what? If she's watching right now, she'll probably be like, oh crap, I gotta get live. Kim said we're going live. All right, Livia, we appreciate you too. Thank you. And we'll see you all next week, same time, 8:00 Eastern. I wish I was better at my job and I remembered who's leading next week. I think it might be Shemaine, Dr. Shemaine Bertrand. I think is leading us next week. I could be wrong. Anyway, we got some really great ones coming up. So appreciate y'all. Have a great night, and we'll see you.
Thank you.